The World Cup is now only a few days away, and the US men's national team will take on Group B with games against Wales, England, and Iran. So today, let's answer some of the key questions that will determine the success or failure for the US men's national team. The strongest parts of this US team is easily what I would call an X on the pitch. And what I mean by that is starting at the fullbacks with Serginho Dest and Antonee Robinson, moving into the midfield of Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Yunus Musah, and going into the wingers, most likely on the left will be Christian Pulisic, the Chelsea number 10, and on the right, Gio Reyna. But we also have Timothy Weah and Brendan Aronson in those wing positions, so it's a huge depth piece that the US can take advantage of. Our fullbacks like to bomb forward and be parts of the attack in the attacking third. Antonee Robinson and Serginho Dest had the most contributions for the defenders in the US national team's quest to go to the World Cup in the qualifying rounds. Our midfield trio, I will honestly say, is what I'm most excited about to watch this US team. I think Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Yunus Musah, while young, are one of the best midfield trios in the entire World Cup, and it is going to be a breakout tournament for Yunus Musah. The US likes to set up in a 4-3-3 with Tyler Adams playing the defensive midfield role. Weston McKennie is a true box-to-box player, and Yunus Musah can fit into a lot of those molds, but at the same time, he likes to be the one that's dribbling and breaking lines by beating his man. Now the wingers, like I said, Christian Pulisic, the Chelsea number 10, Gio Reyna, the Dortmund star, these are players that are going to be critical for the US success in the World Cup. We didn't get a ton of output in terms of goals from our number 9s in World Cup qualifying. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but it is going to be very, very important for the US team to get forward and to get production from their wingers if they can't trust their number 9s to do it. Another benefit for this team is the cohesion of this squad. It's talked about a lot, but there is a brotherhood and a chemistry that you won't find on a lot of national teams. Some of these players like Christian Pulisic and Haji Wright, or Serginho Dest and Timothy Weah, have been playing with each other since U17 days. So this team has played years and years together, are very young, are from a diverse set of backgrounds, and this team is just ready to get going. The other benefit for the US team is when you look across the landscape of the 3 other squads in this Group B, none of them are doing really great right now. The English squad have some surprises of their own, leaving some critical players off of their roster list and bringing someone like Harry Maguire or Calvin Phillips, players that aren't necessarily doing well or getting a lot of time with their club teams. They also are winless in their last 5. They've lost 2 games against Hungary, and they've been relegated to the Nations League 2nd Division. Wales as well has gotten relegated, and while I want to talk some smack about Gareth Bale and his ineffectiveness in MLS, he obviously proved me wrong getting the tying goal in the dying minutes of that final. So Gareth Bale, while he's going to be a critical and important player for Wales, I don't think that he's 90 minutes ready, and he's still hamstrung a little bit by this left hip injury. And while Wales and England will take the headlines, Iran themselves are limping into this World Cup. They got rid of their manager only a few months earlier and are just starting to integrate a new manager. So all 4 of these teams in Group B are probably not in the best form that they would like to be and are somewhat limping into this qualifying group. So for me, if the US can be on and switch on in that first game against Wales and get 3 points, the other 3 teams in this group are not doing well either, and that is a huge benefit to this US team. Now there are some shortcomings to the squad. Not everything is rosy for this US team. Our center back depth is really poor right now, with injuries to players like Miles Robinson and Chris Richards. Now, while we have a player like Tim Ream or Cameron Carter-Vickers, players that are captaining very important squads in Europe, I do think that Gregg Berhalter might go with Aaron Long to pair with Walker Zimmerman, and if that happens, that will easily be the weakest part of our starting 11. Now moving back up top to the striker position, we don't necessarily have a number 1. It could be Jesus Ferreira, who hasn't played a competitive match in a few weeks because of MLS playoffs. It could be Josh Sargent, who hasn't really been a part of this team throughout qualifiers. Or it could be Haji Wright, who is on a tear in Turkey right now, but again, played once with this US team going into the World Cup. Another weakness is that Gregg Berhalter really trusts in his 4-3-3 system, but if we need a plan B, there really isn't one. And especially when you consider players like Reggie Cannon weren't brought to the World Cup, someone that could be a flex right back but also a center back to let us play a 3 in the back system. They're not there right now, so Gregg is pretty much married to the 4-3-3. I say this as a weakness because every team is going to know exactly how we're going to line up and almost exactly how we're going to play, but it could be a benefit in that it makes sense to use something that's very comfortable for the team. The last shortcoming that I'll mention, it could be a benefit for the US national team, is just how young this team is. We have a lot of youth. We have one of the youngest teams going into the World Cup. And while that's great sometimes, if we need that experience and if we need that veteran presence, it might come back to bite us in the end. Now, I do think our starting 11 and our best 11 is going to match up well against all 3 of our opponents in the group stage. I think Matt Turner is going to play in goal, Serginho Dest as the right back, Walker Zimmerman and Tim Ream as the center backs, Anthony Robinson as the left back, Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa, and Weston McKennie in the midfield, Christian Pulisic, Josh Sargent, and Gio Reyna would be my starting 11. Now, I will say we do have a center back problem, and while Walker Zimmerman is an important player for us, he does still play in the MLS, and while the US fans will trust him through his performances of the World Cup qualifiers, we don't necessarily have a natural partner for him. The player that does play the highest line for his club and might start for us is Aaron Long, and that's probably the least quality that we have in our center back position in this roster. Now, Tim Ream, who is playing really well for Fulham in the English Premier League and captaining them to a top table finish in this December stop, Tim Ream is not the fastest or most aggressive players and doesn't necessarily play in a high line week in and week out. Now put those two together and you have Cameron Carter-Vickers, a player that has speed and agility, plays a high line on his club team, but isn't playing against the best opposition week in and week out in Scotland. So who is going to be that center back that steps up next to Walker Zimmerman, and are they going to play their part in getting us through the knockout rounds? There are 3 key players for the US that I want to mention. Tyler Adams, I think, is going to make or break this US performance in the group stage, whether he's playing a more destructor role, if we're playing high lines and if we need him to step up into that midfield, or if we're sitting back a little bit and need him to protect that back line. Tyler Adams is in the form of his life at Leeds United, and I really think that if he has those performances, all 3 of these matches are going to go the way of the US if Tyler Adams can step up. The next most important player, and hear me out here, is Walker Zimmerman. I say this because he's not going to be the best player, he's not going to be the most talented player, he's not going to be the most hype young player to watch out for, and at the same time, he is the rock in our back line. At the point when we thought our back lines and our center backs were falling apart in World Cup qualifying, Walker Zimmerman was always there to steady the ship. And while he's not going to be the biggest name at this tournament, I do think that US fans can take confidence in him being a part of the back line and maybe being the captain of this team even. Christian Pulisic is the last key player that I'll mention for this US team. And I say he's a key player while he might not need to have the cape on for this team. For a long time, Christian Pulisic has been looked at as the team running with him. If Christian Pulisic is doing well, if he's producing for this team, then the US is going far. I think a lot of the talent has really caught up with him to the point where he doesn't necessarily need to play hero ball or have that cape on while he's playing. So I do think players like Timothy Weah, Gio Reyna, Brendan Aronson, maybe even Josh Sargent, all of them can step up to support him, but that will actually be when Christian Pulisic can play at his best. When the opposition doesn't need to focus their defensive mindset on Christian Pulisic, that will be when he gets to flourish. Now the $1 million question, what will happen to the US in this World Cup? I do think that the US is going to get out of the group stage, and once they hit those knockout rounds, really anything can happen. Guys, if you enjoyed this video or learned something new, make sure to like the video so more people can find it. And we are trying to hit 6,000 subscribers before the World Cup starts, so make sure to hit that below and help us reach our goal. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time on It's Called Soccer. Peace.